So I'm Napoleon Dynamite Sensei. Who are you?
I'm like, I don't know. We're all this, and we're all
just somebody from my own
let's
hometown.
fucking take down a buffalo after this.
We could be
right?
One of you could be Larry the Cable Guy.
We could also be Talladega Nights. I forgot what they're Ricky Bobby and whatever Dale.
Oh my God, Dale.
Work.
Shake and bake.
So no, I need to know. Like, were you like, where'd this come from in your brain? Nicole, were you involved in this?
Yes.
Hey, can we?
I was sent links and I ordered.
You want to trim the little plastic knob on the
Nicole's denying involvement.
Seriously, she's like, what's nothing to do with this?
I love it.
On Jack's head, he's got the price tag.
Oh
So
yeah, we could honestly we could leave that on if we want to.
Honestly, it kind of makes it.
Leave the price tag as hip hop.
He's not Mini Pearl.
That's what they do in the culture
Sorry,
now.
Jack.
So what you're saying is Mini Pearl was the original rapper who did that?
I don't know who that is.
She was
Jack,
on
you want both of these?
No, just a switch.
What?
She was on a show called Heat.
Oh, we're not connected to TV?
And she wore a hat and had the
No,
price tag.
I can't connect to the
There's
TV.
like the whole thing like the baseball hat.
Josh,
we
how do we
should-
get Josh on the TV?
Huh?
How do we get Josh on the TV, his computer?
Josh, remember Hee Haw?
Kind of complicated.
Okay.
You have to screen share and like be logged in.
Why you want to show this?
No, I just want. How funny is that?
Let's assume everyone in the country has seen this.
No, but the tag.
What does the tag
Read it.
say?
Read it.
Hold on. Citadel Securities when you put in your market orders. The funniest one I saw was when my kid brings home Twix bars on Halloween.
I have been going nuts this week with kids candy. It's not good. So
Really?
we have like the
Like eating it or just like
You're
what
getting
about
high on your own supply.
well, what else do you do with the kids candy?
it? I don't know, man.
I eat it. That's just me. I'm crazy. I eat
Wait,
it.
what are you guys giving out?
The standard Twix, cocaine, Starburst.
Yeah, I might come.
Cigarettes.
I might come trick or treat.
Cigarettes are kind of back. Like they're coming back.
I don't hate
Cigarettes,
it. I don't hate
Kids-
it.
The kids are tired of vaping. Like cigarettes are back.
They want the real. They want the real thing.
Well, like like you can smoke cigarettes on your fire escape. It's totally like fair game. Anyway, it's making a comeback in the culture.
All
Anyway,
right.
just eating lots
So-
of Twixes and Snickers.
So don't bring your kids by Jack Rains's crib this week. He's giving out Marlboro Reds.
That's right.
So I didn't get to read this yet, but you guys just did a story on
Yeah, sir.
Blumhouse.
yes, I actually have not read it either. But
I love that guy.
I think it's really good because we were all talking about it. I myself have not read it yet, so I can't comment on it in good faith.
So Chris,
Hello.
we're about to start recording a podcast.
I've heard of that.
But we just had a very exciting call that I will talk about it after. Okay,
You had a what?
we had a good call. I'll tell you in after.
I want to see the costume.
I can't, dude. Fix your fucking phone, computer.
What? You'll see it on YouTube like the rest of
Yeah.
America.
See me?
Oh, there he is. Wait, all right. Show me though. Show me.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk outside like this. Although it is Halloween, nobody would know.
Josh should rock that outfit and walk in the house and watch Sherry's face.
All right. Get him. All right. Off screen. Off screen.
I've got some new lingo that y'all can add to your lexicon. It's the word chat. You can use it like it's what my Gen Alpha cousin, he's 13, gave me this. It's you use it like a third person
Yeah,
pronoun.
chat. What do you think?
A chat, is this real?
Yeah,
Chat?
yeah, yeah.
I'm too old to learn new words, but
No,
go
you
ahead.
you should know. It's just like you can use it instead of y'all, essentially.
I don't
Chat.
hate. Dude, I don't hate that.
It came from like Twitch streamers when they're like chat, like asking the chat questions, but you can use it in the real world.
I like it better than
So-
fam.
Fam.
Why
Yeah,
is
fam's pretty beat. Chat's better.
Yeah, there we go. This is
Hold on.
Gen Alpha shit right here.
That's right.
We're getting going.
All the iPad babies.
All right.
Wait,
I'm
can
on-
we at least do audio? Can we do audio
I
if
can,
not
act like,
video?
I can act like this is like a
Oh, through the
spitter.
headphones
Audio we got. Yeah.
audio of what? Of
So,
the thing
of-
I just got rid of?
of Masa.
What do,
saying
what
that
do,
Nvidia's
what do I need to
undervalued.
be doing over here?
Wait, but I have to have the thing though.
It's in the link. Come on now, that's not my first rodeo.
Uh-oh.
Ooh, it feels good. It feels good with the headphones on. Does it look good?
You look good.
It's cold, but it's 80 degrees out.
Do I need to adjust anything?
Just talking to the mic.
Do I need to like pull it closer, or is it like a
If you want to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll be right there.
Cool. This is pretty fancy.
Hold on,
isn't
I
it?
think
Before you play this,
It's 3 minutes.
No, just 30 seconds. But the dude is trying to interrupt so bad. Masa's like talking about NVIDIA undervalued. And the guy leading in, the guy who's doing the interview, like wants to go.
This is in Saudi Arabia. This is the FII thing.
I believe so.
All right.
What? Undervalued. On what basis? Because the future is much bigger. NVIDIA is just one example. Right. Okay? What about the total, Gen AI future? What is the value of the future? Is this a bubble today or not? Okay. Some critics, the most negative guy says, "Oh, this AGI, ASI, in 10 years,
Oh, look at him.
maybe only
at him. Look at
5%
him.
Yeah, he can't
is
take it.
actually useful or replacing."
I can't listen to this.
So that's Masa Son.
Who's the
one
guy
of-
interviewing him, though?
I don't know. One of the largest tech investors in history.
He's the GOAT.
One of the biggest bubble blowers. Also, in fairness, one of the biggest money makers. Like this guy has made and lost fortunes. And that's him saying that NVIDIA is undervalued in 2024.
Thank
Shout
God
out to
somebody.
him.
Thank God somebody's saying it. He might be the only person that thinks it's undervalued, right? At this moment in time, I think there are people that think it's fairly valued.
You know what? I think we need investors like that.
Yeah.
Well,
Like for real.
You need one guy.
Yeah.
He's done this 3 times. I wrote a piece on him a couple of weeks ago, and he back when the .com bubble popped, he set the record for losing more money than anybody had ever lost ever.
Was it on Yahoo?
Killing the game.
It was like just all the tech companies.
Yeah.
He YOLO'd, lost it, and then he basically YOLO'd Alibaba again, and then lost it all in WeWork, and then he YOLO'd ARM, and then made it all back again. So
Legend.
like, it's only
Legend.
fitting for him to go all in on NVIDIA. Somehow NVIDIA be a fraud, him lose it all again, and then make it back on like
He has one more
So-
turn.
yeah.
How much money did he make from ARM? Like people were like laughing. He fucking
No,
Well,
so
he
they-
almost sold it to NVIDIA before it came public.
Yeah, didn't that one get blocked by regulators? So they still own like 90% of it. I don't actually know how they'll be able to sell that because they own 90% of a publicly traded stock. But I think like a couple of weeks ago, ARM was worth $145 billion.
And how much do they own, you said?
He 90%. So they have like $130 billion. Like
right.
most of SoftBank is ARM.
Goated.
He has to create an alternate universe Masayoshi Son to sell it to. That's the only way. His investing strategy is drop a baby grand piano onto the buy button
Yeah.
and do it again just in case the first time didn't take.
He's like a better Bill Wang. Like he just hasn't gone to prison, but they both kind of do the same thing.
wild.
I love it.
I love it too.
He's killing it. All right, today's a blood red day for the Nasdaq. So we're gonna get into that for sure. A lot of big earnings reactions, and
No, it's interesting. There's like a lot of dispersion in the Mag 7. So Microsoft and NVIDIA are bright red, Meta too. Apple is only down 1%, and Google's down 1.5%. That's it.
Apple will report tonight,
Amazon too.
and Amazon too. So give that a minute.
Yeah.
It's a reversal of how earnings season started because the first 2 big tech names out of the chute had great reactions. Tesla and
Google.
I was gonna say Netflix, Alphabet too. Netflix had a really big upside response after the earnings. All right, how we looking? We're good?
We're good? All right.
All right.
Let's pod.
All right.
I just noticed your computer.
What, the Shiba Inu sticker?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool looking dog.
Listen up, folks. Time could be running out to lock in a historic yield at public.com.
But you could lock in a 6% or higher yield with the bond account, Josh.
But here's the thing. The Federal Reserve just announced the big rate cut, and the plan is for more rate cuts.
I'm not so sure about that.
We're going to see at least one more,
We'll
I
see.
think.
We'll
okay. But look, if you're looking to buy a home, that's good news. It might not be so great for the interest you're currently earning on your cash.
So if you want to lock in a 6% or higher yield with a diversified portfolio of high yield and investment grade corporate bonds, we're talking Apple, Microsoft, you know who they are. You might want to act fast.
And the best news is it's fast, it's easy to set up an account and sign up at public.com. Once you lock in your yield, you can earn regular interest payments even as rates decline. This has been brought to you by Public Investing, member FINRA and SIPC. As of 9/26/24, the average annualized yield to worst across the bond account is greater than 6%. Yield to worst is not guaranteed. Not an investment recommendation. All investing involves risk. Visit public.com/disclosures/bond-account for more info. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 164 of The Compound and Friends. My name is Downtown Josh Brown. Congratulations to first-time listeners. You have just happened upon your new favorite investing podcast. For those of you who have been riding with us since day one. We love you. Make my music louder. I feel like you're already fading me out. Fade me in.
Don't be shy.
Fade me in. Listen, this is a very special show. It's the Halloween edition. Even though you're going to watch it or hear it on November 1st, just like understand that it's Halloween right now as we're recording it, so we look way less crazy. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Mr. Michael Batnick. We got a full house here today. Daniel's here. Rob. Duncan is here.
Back.
John, how's it going? Everything's good? All right. And, of course, Nicole is here. And we have a very special guest, our friend, the living legend. It's amazing how young you are. You're already a legend. Jack Rains writes the Young Money blog, a finance-focused blog covering markets, the economy, and more. Jack is also an associate editor at Sherwood, covering business and market news. Prior to Sherwood, Jack spent 2 years as the editor of the financial newsletter Exec Sum. Jack Rains, welcome back to the show.
Humbled and honored to be here. Also, this is not a costume. This is just how we dress and where I'm from.
All right, I was going to say, for those of you who are listening, we are wearing the classic Three Wolf t-shirts, Three Wolves Howling at the Moon t-shirts. You have a duck hunting hat on?
Yeah, I think so.
I
It's
have
camo.
Don't Tread on Me.
Let's go.
In camo, of course.
Yeah.
Is there any other way to rock that? And Michael has the, what did you call it?
Bow to your sensei.
Yeah,
I'm the Napoleon Dynamite dude.
Yeah. But Michael has the Three Wolves as well. And then we gave him an American flag schmata on his head.
Love it.
So that's the story. As soon as I put the shirt on, I want to start spreading conspiracy theories on Twitter.
Should.
It feels natural.
That's all that people do on Twitter now. I mean, it's Halloween, it's election season, you're wearing a wolf
Yeah.
shirt. Come on, throw something crazy.
As soon as I put on the Three Wolves and the Moon shirt, all I wanted to do was storm the Capitol. I don't know how I'm going to keep myself.
Where were you on January 6th?
I heard that Kamala Harris actually died 3 years ago, and it's actually Tiffany Trump under there.
Wow, this is they had that whole conspiracy with Avril Lavigne, the skater boy singer. So I'm glad that
Tell us what that is. We don't know the conspiracy.
oh my God. So
We know Avril.
yeah, well, no, you don't. She's been dead for 11 years.
I
According
see.
to the conspiracy, somebody else came up with skater boy. It's a whole body double thing. So
I can't imagine where that would have come from. All right. Reports today from Microsoft, Meta, Uber, all three selling off. I think one of the interesting things about the Microsoft result, it didn't seem very different from what Alphabet had to say on cloud growth. But today's just one of those days where good is not enough. People needed great, or it's sell the news. The stock's been rallying all year. They would have sold it either way. What do you think?
So I think it's the latter. I didn't have time to dig into the fundamentals, but this blew my face right off my body. Did you know that Microsoft has performed in line with the S&P 500 since October 2021?
That really?
wow.
It's just
I'm looking at a chart of MSFT divided by SPY, and it's where it was in October 21. So how is that even possible? You're telling me that in the last 3 years it hasn't outperformed? That's what I'm telling you.
I wouldn't have guessed that it hasn't. I guess it was already so high in 2021. I don't know. I would not have guessed
But
that.
I mean, technically, the stock doesn't look great. I think my knee-jerk reaction to this is good. Not that I like to see anybody lose money, but these stocks have been on fire. Heaven forbid we should have a normal pullback. I think that's okay.
Are people trading the Mag 7 on Robinhood as much as they had been, or are they bored with these names? I feel like people are bored with these companies other than Nvidia at this point.
And probably Tesla, right? Tesla's
Tesla,
always
too.
fun.
Yeah.
Here's a fun one. Oracle is up 61% year to date, and it's up 200% over the last 5 years. So Oracle's been outperforming, I think, the entire Mag 7 except for Nvidia this year.
Oracle is the fourth largest cloud provider. They only really became a cloud computing story 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
So I think they can just take market share, and that's probably what's fueling the gains. John, can we put this earnings reactions?
Well, before you do real quick. So the Mag 7, there's a ticker for that. Roundhill has a ticker for that. It hit an all-time high yesterday.
Really?
That also surprised me. Did you know that?
I did know that. I did not know that. How is it weighted? Is it equal weight amongst
It's probably
all seven?
So it's the big 7, all-time high yesterday.
So that probably helped by Nvidia and Tesla.
Not Tesla.
Let's put this up. So just to run through the reactions to earnings, this is just 1 day reaction. So Netflix started us off on October 17th. It had a 1 day gain of 11.1%. Tesla 22%, one of its best days ever. Even Alphabet, which was not a blow your face off report, up 2.8%. Today is a different story. Microsoft off 5.5%, Meta off almost 4%, Uber down 11 and change, which I'm long the stock. I think it's a weird reaction to what was a pretty good quarter and good guidance. But the sentiment shifted so fast on these, because if you would have bet, oh, look how much they love Tesla, look how much they loved Netflix, we're good this earnings season. It's just not really what you're getting right now.
I would also point to year-to-date performance that I'm pulling up right now. Like these things, listen, they can't go up indefinitely forever and ever without some sort of normal pullback. So I'm not trying to poo-poo the reaction. I think it's interesting, but I also think that Microsoft was up 25% earlier in the year. What else is pulling back? Uber had been up. Uber was up 40% year-to-date as of a couple of weeks ago. So, is this, are we going to see some follow through to the downside? Obviously, I have no idea. But what's interesting in conjunction with this is that there was a report from the Conference Board Consumer Confidence Expectation of stock price increases. So this report is old. It goes back to the 1980s. And they asked people, what is your expectation of stocks being higher 1 year from now in terms of like, will they be higher? Will they be lower? And it's at the highest as far as, this is from Jim Bianco's chart. It's 51% of respondents expect the stock market to be higher next year. So, yeah, okay, we got a little bit frothy. People are excited.
This is sentiment. This is off the chart sentiment.
Investors are horny, but it is interesting. Jack, I want to get your take on this. It is interesting seeing how bullish investors are on the stock market compared with how like people feel about the economy and how they feel about how the country is going. It's a weird dichotomy.
Well, I think it's like I'm just looking at this now. It seems like when stocks have been going up, people want it to still go up. Like, is that 2022 where it's at the bottom, like right before this?
That's exactly how it works.
That's like, I think that was around the last time I was on here, but it's like, everybody thought like we were going to have a recession, the world was going to end, and the S&P's up a lot since then. So I don't know. It is weird that people think the financial markets are doing better than the economy. But my take on this is, most people's personal portfolios are up because most people are invested in like index funds or something like that. So everybody feels like the economy's bad because like the news looks bad, and then you're seeing all these reports about inflation, this and that. But then their own personal investment accounts are probably up like 20% or whatever this year. So it's almost like everybody's doing bad except for me, but my net worth is up. Therefore, I feel good about it. Like it's like you're segmenting your situation from
that's
the
like
rest
when
of the country.
that's like when they ask people like, how do you feel about Congress? They despise Congress.
Right.
How do you feel about your own congressperson? Oh, she's doing a good job.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's weird. I think there's like a virus going around, and that virus, that not COVID. It's like cool to complain. Like complaining is very much in vogue these days.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the election, because this is the last show I think before we actually get the result, if we get a result. First things first is, I can't believe how many people want to bet with money on the election. You would think that, I think the last polls were it's 47-47 or whatever. Like none of the polls.
I don't know which polls you're looking at.
Yeah. None of the
prediction market.
None of the mainstream polls are so far apart that you would think like there's this like obvious winner just yet. I know in people's hearts there's an obvious winner.
Whoa. Since when is betting about making money, sir?
I guess not. So Robinhood, which Sherwood is connected with, here, this is directly from their release. 2 weeks ago, we hosted hundreds of Robinhood customers in Miami at our inaugural Hood Summit. There, we announced Robinhood Legend and that index options and futures would be coming soon. Now, Robinhood is following up on this announcement with the launch of presidential election event contracts ahead of the November 5th general election. And other people have launched these also. People are really excited to be able to trade on the result of the election. Are you surprised by that at all?
No, people like betting on anything. This is like the biggest story. And honestly, because like to your point, even though most of the prediction markets, like I'm looking at Kalshi and Polymarket now, and they both show Trump favored right around 60-40, but most of the polls are still showing like a 50-50-ish. So everybody thinks that they're right on this, and it's essentially a double your money thing if you're right. So
why do you think there's such a big gap between the traditional polls versus the betting markets?
I think it's a couple of things. The first is that I think a little bit like a slightly higher percentage of people that are actually betting on this probably lean conservative. So that's going to skew it a little bit. But the other thing is, in the polls, Trump has had momentum over the last like month or so. So he went from being like down by like 2% to it being about neck and neck.
Which is momentum like a stock.
Yes. And because like in the polls, like what Nate Silver does, for example, you're polling what people's individual choices are. The prediction markets, people are betting on what they think the broader outcome is going to be. So if Trump's gaining momentum and you're betting on a binary outcome, not just a bunch of individual decisions, if it's a coin flip, but he's been gaining momentum, more people are going to expect that to keep going. It's really not that different from
This
stock.
is not moved by individual people, like the count of individual people. This is moved by money.
Yeah, it's
Right.
a market.
Yeah.
So wealthier people probably, and also maybe more people, are betting on Trump. And that's how you get that big dispersion.
So Kalshi puts out like they were the one who sued the CFTC
And won.
Yeah. So that's why them, Robinhood, Interactive Brokers, they all have like US markets for this now. But they distribute research reports of their numbers, and more people on the platform are putting money on Trump. But
Right.
the median bet size for Harris is bigger, and there's more bigger
so it's
whale.
not what I thought it was.
So there's still more net bettors on Trump, but there's a higher proportion of bigger bettors on Harris, which I counterintuitive.
Do we know, you might know this, you might not. Do we know how the rules work? So let's say it's a contested election, which I'm willing to bet $1 million it is.
Yeah.
In both directions, no matter who wins. Like, who wins this bet?
So
is it who gets inaugurated?
It depends on it. So it depends on where you bet. So Polymarkets bets settle like on Wednesday, but Kalshi's don't settle
dude,
till
no one's gonna be happy with that.
Kalshi's don't settle till January. So
Okay.
there's like, depending on which and I don't know when the Robinhood ones settle, but when like if you bet on Kalshi, you won't actually get your payout until like January 7th or whatever.
Well, like Tim Draper, I have bet both candidates.
Yeah, that
Hold
way
on.
you can't lose.
But if you bet on Polymarket, you might not ever get paid because the odds of there being a resolution come Wednesday, in my personal opinion, not knowing anything more than anyone else, are very slim.
yeah, I have no idea
There's
how
not going
that's
to be a
going to work out.
concession phone call.
No.
Okay. And why would there be? It's so tight.
Yeah.
Or we think it's so tight.
Well, hang on. Talk about what Nicola said on your show, because I think that he's onto something in terms of what's getting the momentum going for Trump.
On the betting markets.
Yeah.
Well, Nick made the point, which I think we'll find out eventually if this is true. But he thinks that there are big bettors, specifically overseas, that are offsetting risk in one particular position by betting on one of the candidates. So like if you're making policy specific bets, one way to hedge might be to offset it with a bet on which candidate wins.
Right.
Well, wait a minute. I think it's a little bit different than that. My interpretation was that this person or people are trying to get momentum for Trump, not because they're political, but because they think that that's going to have implications for foreign currencies and commodities. And then they're using real money, like real money, to buy the peso or palladium or whatever policies that Trump will enact that will impact foreign markets and international markets. That's the purpose of the money.
But do you think they're like putting money on Polymarket or whatever to try to like?
This is a tiny
like, they're
market. This
right.
is $2 billion relative
yeah,
to the currency
so
market.
And a lot of that's probably wash trading. I don't know if you saw the Fortune piece about how like a third of this is like wash trading volume. So it's probably like, yeah, it was a pretty wild piece that I think Fortune put it out yesterday about how they said at least a third of Polymarket's volume on the election market and in general is like wash trading. People just moving money back and forth without taking
You
one
mean
side
they're
or the
buying and selling and then rebuying and
Yes,
reselling?
it's
I
very-
believe that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's
to what
classic
end?
crypto stuff.
But you know what's interesting is that the tail is wagging the dog, because this is having like impact on how people are thinking about the
For sure.
outcome of the election.
Well, it's because the average person doesn't necessarily get the difference between a prediction market and a poll. So if
Right.
a poll's 50-50 and a prediction market's 61-39, then they're like, oh, the prediction market's like the real thing.
Yeah,
And
no.
they aren't really measuring the
So
same
I
thing.
would tend to believe that the prediction market is the real thing when it comes to like the stock market.
Yeah.
Not that the prediction is always right,
There's enough volume.
but I'm one of these people that believes good news happens to stocks that are already in uptrends.
Yeah.
And bad news happens to stocks that are already in downtrends.
Yeah.
Because I think the market is smart. I don't know if I would make the leap and say that I believe that the prediction market is leading what the actual election outcome will be. I don't think it's big enough.
Right.
Here's the Fortune piece. The prediction market, Polymarket, has skyrocketed into mainstream consciousness during the 2024 U.S. elections, with the platform reporting that users have placed $2.7 billion in bets over whether Trump or Harris will be elected.
That's a lot of money.
But analysts at two crypto research firms have found evidence of rampant wash trading, even as odds have been shared widely across social media and mainstream media outlets. Donald Trump currently has a 67% chance of winning, according to the platform. So they're looking at people buying and selling these contracts to create a false impression of volume and activity. I would guess that that's probably happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there bots doing this?
I don't know.
Highly possible. It'll be interesting if, one of the things they try to do on the news is not call an election too early.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to stop people from going out to vote. But if you hear on TV that a state is like probably already done and you live in that state, you might not go. If you see that same phenomenon start to play out in these betting markets, maybe not this election, but next election, where 3 days before you can see based on the prediction market where your candidate is, you might not even get up and go out and vote because you might say it's a waste of time. It's over already.
Yeah.
Okay. That's an interesting thing. Are you pro prediction markets in general? Do you think there are any societal reasons why we should maybe police these a little bit better? Or
so my take is I think people can put their money on whatever they want. If it's like a fair market, you want to do that. That's like on you to do it. I do think that having prediction markets for just making it where you can bet on literally anything at any point is just a slippery slope, and that like it's just another thing people can get like addicted to and potentially lose money on. So like, yeah, from like, I don't necessarily know how it should be governed. And I think people should be able to do what they want. I do think that there's going to be consequences of like people losing money or this same thing as sports betting. I don't necessarily think it should be illegal, but I don't think it's necessarily a good thing either.
On the Caesars app, I bet on Detroit Lions to win the Super Bowl.
When?
This past week.
Okay. I like that bet.
Plus 700?
I also bet on Tampa Bay, which is plus 6,000.
What about the Atlanta Falcons?
I said it's Baker Mayfield. Like it's plus 6,000. Who cares?
Right.
But the idea is like, I don't actually expect either of these to work. But if they do work, it costs me literally nothing. And the payouts are enormous.
That's how it starts, my friend.
Yeah.
I understand. But I wouldn't make bets like, so-and-so is going to win this game by 4 points. I don't do stuff like
Gotta
that.
put my kids' college tuition on Dogecoin.
Yeah, all I did was put my kids' college tuition. What's the big deal?
Yeah, that's fine.
The sports apps are getting as crazy as the ETF launches. Now you could bet, and you better believe I am, who could score in the first 3 minutes of a basketball game.
Really?
Like, is Josh Hart going to score in the first 3 minutes? Yeah, he is.
Well, so that I won't do.
I know.
Because it's not, I'm a long-term
Gambler.
Nice. It's like you're only investing in blue chip bets like Super Bowl futures, not Josh Hart assist over under the first
he's
quarter.
blue chip guy. So
No, I think it's like, I think there's a good enough probability that the Lions get there.
yeah, Lions.
And
absolutely.
if they get there, it's anyone's game. We've seen tons of upsets in Super Bowls. So, like, from my perspective, I look at that differently as somebody saying who's going to score the first 2 points in a basketball game.
This is neither here nor there, but Lions happen to be a top 2 team right now, so they're not a long shot. Like, they could easily win.
They were like the fourth in the
Probably
thing,
Baltimore,
the
Kansas
fourth
City.
highest
You
odds.
should bet on the Falcons. Kirk Cousins looking
No.
good. He's got those boys
You a
right.
Falcons fan?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
We're back.
All right, I have money on my fantasy team. Nobody cares. All right. So the big story this week, and there's a lot of big stories, is the Washington Post losing about 10% of their subscriber base.
Yep.
And this is on the back of Jeff Bezos saying that the newspaper will not endorse a candidate, which is kind of weird effing timing considering the election is on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So I thought Derek Thompson had a really good take on this. He said, I suppose it's possible that Bezos sincerely formed in his private thoughts the principle that presidential endorsements are bad, and the timing of this articulation just happened to coincide with this principle being obviously advantageous to his company Blue Origin. It's possible, but as a general matter, if you come up with a personal principle at the very moment when that principle is most convenient, the price you pay for that convenience is that nobody will trust you, nor should they. And I won't read the rest of it, but it's like, come on, man. If he did this a year ago, 2 years ago, I think reasonable people would have been like,
well, here, read this. We don't endorse presidential candidates.
Well,
is a defensible position. Coming up with that principle during the editing process for a Harris endorsement days before your company is scheduled to meet with Donald Trump is not a decision whose timing deserves anybody's trust.
So Bezos wrote an op-ed in the Post. It's like, dude, nobody believes you. Like, reasonable people can say, yeah, why would a newspaper endorse a candidate? You can't do that 4 days before the election. What are you, insane? He's a business person. What did he think was going to happen? First of all, yeah, you trust gone, but just from the point of view of his business that he's running with the Washington Post, maybe he cares, maybe he doesn't. What is that about?
The last paragraph saying that like his other company is meeting with Trump. I imagine Blue Origin. I'm assuming they're talking about Blue Origin.
He tried to say that it was a coincidence that he didn't know that.
So
come on.
Blue Origin relies on government contracts.
Right.
Obviously, they're dragging really heavy stuff into orbit,
and SpaceX beat them badly.
Yeah, and Elon is all in on Trump, and just this. There's already a lawsuit. There's already a lawsuit between Bezos and the government because in 2019 he thinks he was blocked from getting a contract because of his views on Trump. So this is not like none of this is news that this is now a really big factor. I think when he bought the Washington Post, it was during a time where it was seen to be smart if you were a billionaire to be a champion of liberal ideals, and that time has passed. And you could almost argue now it's the opposite. Like you almost get more credit these days for sticking up a middle finger to liberal ideals. And this is kind of like an in-between. This is like, well, we're not going to really endorse anyone. And everyone knows now at this point that the truth is he pulled it personally. So like that's come out. It's been reported. No one's in denial about that. They lost 250,000 subscribers. It may not be great to own businesses and also own a newspaper, it turns out.
Well, he came out afterwards and said, I'm reading this quote here. I would also like to be clear that there's no quid pro quo of any kind at work here.
Okay.
Neither campaign nor candidate was consulted or informed at any level or any way about this decision. As soon as you come out and say that none of that happened, it shows that you were thinking about people thinking that
it's
happened.
Insulting. How dumb do you think we are, Mr. Billionaire?
Right.
Right? Like, and this is like what part of the thing that people are pissed off about on both sides.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to be in the media business, you got to be all in, and you got to kind of be Rupert Murdoch and just, I'm a conservative media company owner.
Be a
Period.
villain. Be a villain. Lean into the villain arc.
So speaking of villains, the Wall Street Journal did a post on what's going on at X, formerly known as Twitter. And they said the journal created accounts on the social media platform that only signaled an affinity for non-political subjects. Non-political, but a majority of the posts in their For You feed were partisan or related to the election. Kamala Harris's campaign topped the list of most seen accounts, with one post mocking pro-Trump hecklers at her rally in Wisconsin, reaching all the journal's accounts. 10 of the other top 14 most seen leaned right, including Trump's, and overall pro-Trump content appeared about twice as frequently as pro-Harris material. And I'm thinking about this, of course it's the election, but in the context of Reddit just smashed earnings.
Oh yeah, Reddit's back.
So Cook.
Yeah, Reddit's great. They, I think the Reddit's.
Wait, you're saying Reddit is stealing Twitter's
absolutely.
thunder?
Reddit is crushing right now.
I'll give you the mic in 1 second, but I'm on Reddit for the first time in my entire life. I think a lot of it has to do with their partnership with Google, which I spoke about on the call that I listened to. But I'm now getting stuff, and I'm going to Reddit Reddit's been around for a long time. I've never been able to follow it. It's been too much for me. I'm going to Reddit, and it is like the anti-Twitter. And so they're killing it. So Jack, talk more about what they're doing.
It's a top 3 search result on Google for almost everything that I put into the search box these days.
Yeah,
Right.
so there's, I read through, so Reddit absolutely crushed earnings. Their revenue was up 68% year over year, which is nuts. Their daily active uniques, which is their like measurement for like active users, was up 47% year over year.
That's huge.
And
That's crazy.
the craziest like fact in here was that the 6th most Googled word so far this year was the word Reddit. So people are typing in like whatever their question is, putting Reddit at the end. Like Google is very much a search bar.
It's
for
the
Reddit at this
anti-Twitter.
point.
Nobody wants to be mind on Twitter. It's like,
Right.
I just want sports or this or that. Don't feed me politics.
Also,
And people are like, I'm going elsewhere.
Twitter search sucks. Like you can't look up stuff on Twitter. It's broken. If you try to put in somebody's handle and look for a quote, like it can't do it right. Versus Reddit, Reddit's been around for so long, and there's so many people that are just sharing their random thoughts and anecdotes and just ideas on everything.
The last few times I hit Twitter, like just the homepage, and my settings are now just like people I follow.
Yeah.
I don't know how like For You versus. So I click on the For You thing to see what's going on.
It's wild.
Oh,
The
it's
top
crazy.
post, the last 5 times, the top post is something Elon Musk said. So he must have like arranged the algorithm so that no matter what, when you hit Twitter, you see whatever he's saying. And then it's all politics.
Yeah. So Reddit stock was up 42% yesterday. It successfully
Look at this.
IPO'd earlier in the year, and yeah, the stock's on fire. It's because the business is on fire.
What's the market cap on Reddit now? Is this now a big
40?
stock?
I'm making that up.
What
is it?
It's only like 20 billion.
Okay.
So not like.
But
that
this is
big.
happening, you think, as
It's not a coincidence.
you think this is happening as a direct result of how badly they f***ed up the Twitter experience?
I think that's part of it, but Reddit is also one of the biggest like winners so far with AI and social media. I was reading about how they've basically been using machine learning to build out better translation tools. And part of the problem was most of Reddit was in English, right? But now they have all these, like you can just hit translate on pretty much any post and it pulls it up. So it opens up a bigger international market where people from France or Brazil can now read all the like posts written by people from America. So like the market just gets way bigger when it's more collaborative and less siloed. So like they've done a very good job of leveraging.
The way I describe Reddit to people is it's eBay for information.
Yeah.
So when you're on eBay, you're in like your own like lane of things that you care about. And that's what so you search for something, they'll give you all the relevant results for that thing. So if you're somebody that collects, for example, like Yankee memorabilia, you're not going to see like Yankees. Oh, here's Trump dancing.
Right.
That's not going to happen. You're basically being served things that are things that you might actually buy. I think of Reddit as the same thing, but for information. So if you're really interested in Star Wars and you're in the subreddits that are relevant to that, and they do a really good job at letting you stay there and not trying to push your attention to something else.
So y'all both know my whole SPAC trading story, whatever, like YOLO, my Roth IRA.
Hold on, not everybody does. So real quick.
Okay, so the very quick rundown is during the pandemic, I decided to start day trading my Roth IRA, flipping SPACs, and I was just YOLOing SPAC after SPAC after SPAC. I think Chamath is a horrible person, but he made me a lot of money. So to that, I say thank you. Anyway, I at one point turned $6,000 into $400,000, which I then turned. That was in about 9 months. I was 23, and I told my dad that he told me to sell, and I said,
the smartest man alive.
Yeah, and I said no. I'm up 6,000%. I'm 150% away from a
million.
millionaire.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So then I turned 400K into 200K, which is pretty cool. Most of that happened in one day.
Proud of you.
But the Reddit part of this is I had a burner Reddit account where I was one of the co-founders of the SPACs subreddit, which now has like 300,000 subscribers.
Were you modding?
Yeah, I was a mod for a little bit. Okay. And then it got too big where it was just people posting random BS. So a core group of that made a Discord server where we had like bots that were sending us push notifications whenever a new SPAC filing came out. But I was very active in Reddit, like posting stuff all over the place in 2021. It is phenomenal. There's a lot of smart people on there. And like it's the only social media platform where you can really build a community within a platform.
But you can't, so people can follow subreddits for the things that they're interested in, which I have done. But you can't follow people in there specifically, or you can?
No, you can. My burner Reddit, the username is it's Barmello Xanthony, and I have over 1,000 followers.
So the thing that you just said, like-minded people. Social media is not good because nobody wants to spend time with people that they disagree with.
Right.
So like that's why Twitter just turned into a cesspool.
Right.
We're not meant to be with people who we think are idiots. Mm-mm. And half the country thinks the other half are idiots.
Yeah, and Twitter just puts them all together yelling at each other.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's another thing going on, which is that Elon genuinely believes that the world needs a town square. And my belief is nothing could be further from the truth.
Mm-mm.
We absolutely do not. In fact, it's absolutely poisonous for there to be a place where everyone is yelling at each other. And that's almost like you either believe that everyone should talk and the world will be a better place, or you think people should mind their own fucking business, stay in their own lane, and the world will be a better place. I'm in the latter camp.
It always goes toxic. Oh, you should hear people that disagree with you. Aren't you open-minded?
Nah.
Yes, I get it on an individual one-to-one level, but when there's millions of people, it just always turns violent. It always does.
Or when it's most of the biggest accounts on there are not in good faith.
Right. It is interesting. Remember there used to be like a whole group of social media companies, Groupon, Zynga, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah. None of that exists anymore because you know why? On the conference call, these are ad platforms, okay? And what do ad platforms want? They want people on the platform.
And you're not going to stay on a platform where every time you log in, you have a negative experience.
Reddit's so cool though. It's like to your point, like Reddit is not a town square, but if you do want to dabble or like read about other views, you can just look at the siloed version of like what do the American socialists think? Okay, interesting. Versus just like tweeting, and then all of a sudden you have an alt-right guy and then a Bernie Sanders acolyte like screaming at each other.
Oh,
in the
you can
comment
go
section.
looking for those opinions.
But
Yeah,
if
they're
you
not
don't-
going to
good.
assault
Like, you can
you.
look
Yeah,
for specific
exactly.
stuff,
If
which
you
is
don't
great.
like it, if you don't like it,
Oh,
they're
I
not
like that
gonna,
idea.
they're not
They don't stay
gonna
there.
keep forcing it down your throat.
Yeah, like Reddit's the best way to actually find out what, like, you can actually explore differing opinions without, like, it's a much cleaner, better, like, healthier way to see what
Conspiracy
differently
theories
minded-
exist.
Yeah, exactly. Like
if you
the
want to
wolf shirt
sample,
guys.
if you want to sample different conspiracy theories,
That's
Reddit
the
Go to
is.
place.
Reddit. Actually, I bet there's a conspiracy theory subreddit. Let's see.
Bet. Wait, there's probably, of course.
Ooh, wait, yeah, it's got 2.2 million conspiracies. Let's see. Kim
Pick one.
Kardashian deletes her son's YouTube channel after he shares 2 anti-Kamala Harris videos. Really makes you think. They're onto something here.
He's 6.
Duncan, are you on Reddit?
I use it sometimes. Google searches. you know.
Film. Are
You
you?
land on it like I do
Yeah,
from
looking
Google.
for like
Yeah.
F1 trivia or something like that.
That's how I stumbled upon Reddit.
But so they have a deal in place with Google, or this
Yes,
is just happening
yes.
organically?
Yes.
Yeah, they signed, I think it was a $60 million deal where Google can now train some of its like AI stuff on Reddit content. All the Reddit mods were like up in arms about it. I think that deal was signed around the time Reddit went public. Obviously, everybody said they were going to leave Reddit. They didn't, because Reddit's users are up 47%. So it turns out nobody actually cares what happens to their data.
Is Wall Street bet still like a big thing, or has it cooled off?
So-
John, you're saying yes?
It's bigger than ever, but it's like, it's one of those things where the bigger it gets, you lose that, like, when it was like a few 100,000 people, there were these edgy people just trying to figure out ways to like lose like millions of dollars on Robinhood. Now it's like, oh, look, I made money. I lost money. Here's a stupid meme. Like, it's like
Yeah.
IQ 90 when it used to be IQ 140 with a gambling addiction, which was so much more fun.
How did it become IQ 90? Because it became like just a bigger common denominator of people.
Yeah, once, like, when the GameStop thing happened a couple of years ago, Wall Street Bets was just like in the news, and then so many people subscribed to it and signed up. It went from being this like weird shadowy corner of the internet where people were trying to do these like weird option iron condors where they lost more money than God, to like people just post memes of Jerome Powell now.
Right. So I wonder if when you have that disperse of a community, you still have the power to move stocks.
Yes.
They need like a new story. Are they doing DJT?
They probably did at some point. DJT was worth more than X 2 days ago. It's
Yeah,
down
that
like
makes sense.
20% or something now, but like they made like 5 million in revenue and a 300 million net loss. Yeah, it's worth more than X.
So for the listener, DJT is the Donald J. Trump, the Trump Media and Technology Corp. And basically people are using it as another way to gamble on whether or not Trump wins.
What is DJT? I don't
It's
know.
nothing. And it's $4 million in revenue and a $4 billion market cap. And it's literally, they post some ads on Truth Social, which is where
What do you think the ads are?
Trump sometimes tweets. But this thing is rocketing higher when Trump has a good day in the polls.
Yeah.
Or he does something like really smart. Or then if like Kamala gives a big interview and gets a lot of attention, this thing falls. So it's acting as I don't want to say a mood ring. It's acting like like an EKG for the Trump campaign, basically.
Well, it's also cool because he's made more money from this. Like, this Truth Social went public through a SPAC and it got held up forever. And now, like, he's made more money from this than he did in his entire real estate
I think
career.
he has a $2 billion stake, and he's vowed that he won't sell it.
Has he? Yeah, I was about to say, has he cashed out?
I
any of
don't think he, so it's, I remember reading
You're the
through the
SPAC king,
prospectus.
tell
Yeah,
us.
no, so I read through the whole prospectus on this, and he owns, I don't know if it was like 50%.
half. He owns half.
And he like gets more and more that that like could vest over time. But the thing is, I don't remember the terms on his lockup period, but he's also the one who decides if he wants to change the lockup period. So he could say, "Oh yeah, like it's locked
I'm locked up
the
until I unlock myself."
The shares are locked
Tremendous.
up until 2026." But he's the one who like determines if
Does
he
it pay a
can sell
dividend?
it. Not yet. It might.
Let me read this to you. The oscillating of shares between highs and lows will likely continue as the election nears. One current investor warned that if Trump loses the election next week, shares of DJT could plunge to zero. Quote,
Wow.
"It's a binary bet on the election," Matthew Tuttle, CEO of investment fund Tuttle Capital Management, told Yahoo Finance. Tuttle, who currently owns put options on the stock, said the trajectory of shares hinges on a buy the rumor, sell the fact trading strategy. Listen to this one. Quote, "I would imagine that the day after him winning, you'd see this come down." If he loses, I think it goes to 0.
It's not a bad take.
So he owns puts on it,
Yeah.
which is probably, if I were trading this, that's probably what I would do.
I wouldn't buy puts though, because I was actually looked at the options on this the other day. I also think it'll go down, but the problem is the options are so expensive because everybody's betting on it going somewhere by like 50% or more.
So you can be right and still lose money.
Right. Like once the
Love when
volatility
that happens.
once the volatility, like the options, it depends on when he bought them, but the options are so expensive now. It's hard to make money.
This stock just ripped in the last month 60% higher.
Right.
And now it's down 22% off the highs.
Right.
And you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. If there's like a Siena poll or something that has Harris gaining momentum, this thing could be down 15 points.
So my question is, why short that when you could just like buy Harris prediction market stuff? Like, I don't know, if you're just betting on the election, just
Leverage.
bet on it.
Leverage, bro.
Or what if you could get a girlfriend?
That's true.
Like, could you imagine? Like, what if you met a girl, took her out to dinner,
I feel like
maybe
this
a
is
movie?
shot at me.
I mean, no, not at you personally.
I'm not betting on this.
People that are involved in this. All right. The New York Stock Exchange just said they're going to extend trading hours. They're going to go here.
Let's go.
I knew they would do this because of how much I hated it. The New York Stock Exchange on Friday announced plans to extend trading to 22 hours a day. Robinhood has had this 24/5 trading. So they're open from 8 p.m. Eastern on Sundays until 8 p.m. Eastern on Fridays. And they've been doing that for over a year. Global cryptocurrency is 24 hours. Under the new plan, trading on the NYSE Arca Electronic Exchange would open at 1:30 a.m. and close at 11:30 p.m. Eastern on weekdays, subject to regulatory approval. They currently have extended trading that starts at 4 a.m. and goes till 8 p.m. So I don't know.
Whatever.
Does it change anything?
No, as long as we're not doing the weekends. Like,
I think it's it'll be
But if
somebody's
you're a professional, is your job now 22 hours a day?
depends what your job is.
Professional trader.
it's not liquid enough. Like nobody like for like an institution is going to be trading at 11 p.m. on like futures, sure, but like on stocks.
Counterpoint. Taiwan Semi decides to put out a press release at 3 a.m. New York time.
Yeah, wake up.
Wake the
Yeah,
up.
get up.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
all
so,
right.
so a few times a year there will be market moving stuff that you can choose or choose not to participate in.
Will there be flash crashes overnight that we wake up to? Like
Probably just because like it's not going to be that liquid. No, like I've seen this because I've like I love trading Robinhood stocks at 3:47 in the morning. Thank you.
Shout out to the flash crashes.
Typically, these like at least right now, most of these stocks like there's not that much liquidity that late. So like people are going to panic buy, panic sell, whatever. But I don't think that you're going to see like hundreds of thousands of shares trading hands in the middle of the night.
If you wrote a trading algorithm for a hedge fund, you would probably not want it active.
No, but you would want to
because of how weird the bid-ask spreads will.
But there's
get.
a lot of money to be made from like retail investors who put in a market order instead of a limit order, where you can just put a limit order at a really, really stupid price, and you might get filled by somebody accidentally doing a market order. So
I see.
You can profit off stupidity on this for sure.
So you can set things up so that people that are dumb enough to put in the wrong type of trade.
Yeah.
I guess you don't need to do that at 1 a.m. You could do that at 12 noon.
Yeah, but like when it's at 12 noon, it's like if you put in a market order, you're just gonna get filled at like the right price. So 3 a.m. you can make a lot of money from that.
So Howard Lindson's big thing these days is the degenerate economy.
Oh yeah.
Doesn't this like feed right into that?
Oh yeah.
It's so perfect.
That's why you gotta own, not an endorsement. Well, I own ICE. That's the New York Stock Exchange.
I was gonna say DraftKings.
Yeah,
But
I don't own that.
They're
But
kind of the
is
same
this just
thing.
this is like what we just have young men doing now.
There's no going back.
It's just like gambling all day
But
long.
also, let's like, how many people are gonna do this?
Everybody.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, let's move on to let's go from insane to insane on crack. So Micro Saylor tweeted,
Let's go.
MicroStrategy announces $42 billion capital plan, including $21 billion at the money equity offering and a target of raising $21 billion in fixed income securities. Why? Because they're gonna buy Bitcoin. That's it. They're gonna buy Bitcoin. So at
How much?
$42 billion, dude. At Good Alexander tweeted this morning, MicroStrategy going green pre-market after announcing 80% of its market cap and future dilution to buy Bitcoin certainly sends a message. So MicroStrategy is basically like a closed-end fund that's trading at a wild premium to its underlying holdings of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is up 69% on the year. Very, very nice. What is that, Jack?
I said of course it is.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice.
MicroStrategy's up 290% on the year. So we at ChartKid make a great chart showing the number of Bitcoin that is held by MicroStrategy. So it started at, next chart please, John. It started at, what is this number? 133,000 in December 2022. They're now up to 252,000 Bitcoin. It's a 90% increase, but the value of their Bitcoin is up 723% since they started it. So the value of the Bitcoin that they hold went from $2.2 billion up to $18 billion. So you've got this coupled with the fact that it's trading at a large premium. Next chart, John, just makes for a wild story. And you can laugh, and I have, and you can talk shit, and I have.
Hold on. Can you explain this to me?
He's won and he's made so much money. It's insane.
So if you buy MicroStrategy right now, you're paying 3 times what you would pay if you just bought the Bitcoin ETFs.
Let's assume that the underlying business has no value, and I'm not saying that, but let's just assume that it's pretty close to zero.
It's tiny.
They make $100 million
okay.
in revenue and below $400 million.
So there you go. So it is worth zero. So relative to the size of the Bitcoin holdings, you're paying a 3x, but it doesn't matter because
why would you do that?
Because it's working.
All right, but seriously, why would you do it?
I don't know
I know it has worked.
No, I don't know why you would do it today. I don't know the fundamental reason. I don't know enough about like option Greek math and the deltas and all that sort of shit, but it's working. And it's kind of scary because what if Michael Saylor becomes like a top 10 richest person in the world?
So I wrote a piece last month about how MicroStrategy has been historically bad at timing the market. And pretty much all of his Bitcoin purchases or all of MicroStrategy's Bitcoin purchases have happened when Bitcoin was like at or above around $40,000. Like when it dropped down to like 16,000, he bought almost no Bitcoin in that bear market of like late 2022 through 2023. He keeps YOLOing around like between $50,000 and $70,000. But to answer your question on I have no idea why it's trading at a fat premium either, except the fact that it's good for Bitcoin that they keep issuing equity and debt to buy more Bitcoin because like
great for Bitcoin,
right? So like
if they're permanent bid,
it's. Yeah.
Right. He's doing like the buyback for Bitcoin, which is not a corporation, but he's acting in that role where he's taking on debt,
selling stock.
Yes.
And the market, and the price isn't moving down. So it's just like free money. And it's just, how does this not?
He is like single-handedly willing Bitcoin to 100,000.
Right.
Well, hold on.
He's always there to buy.
Yes, but Bitcoin had like an $850 million inflow to the ETFs alone the other day. Yeah. So it's not just him, but my God, what is, I don't know enough about like the convertible debt offerings to like really explain in plain English what the hell is happening here. It's wild.
I would love for there to be like a Bitcoin bear market that ends up getting a margin call because like most of the debt is like very like cheap debt because it's convertible notes, but I don't know if he still has any outstanding just long-term debt. Basically his game has been issue convertible notes, the price goes up and people just convert that to equity so he doesn't have to pay it back. But they also keep issuing just senior secured notes at like 6 or 7% that they then refinance with new debt to then buy more Bitcoin. If hypothetically Bitcoin had a like 85% drawdown, he could get margin called and then have to like sell some of his Bitcoin to pay back creditors.
It's like a
which would
legal
make it spiral down.
It's like a legal Bitcoin.
We haven't seen what it looks like on the way down.
It came close. On the last bear market, somebody had calculated that like the margin call price for him hypothetically would be like around $15,000.
Where is it now?
I don't know, but like on Bitcoin's around 70K. I don't know what price it would have to hit for like him to have to sell assets, but even with the ETFs, Bitcoin still isn't like the liquidity isn't super, super deep. And if one person, like if MicroStrategy had to sell, say 500 million Bitcoin, it could like tank it further where right now he's been pumping the whole thing up. He could also single-handedly spiral it down. I don't think that'll happen, but I hope it does.
But the only thing that could make him do that is if the price itself is already down a lot.
Right, exactly.
You can't have a margin call until the price falls.
No, like it would have to fall, but if it fell far enough, then he could send it back like 90,
just
95%.
by meeting margin call.
Yes,
just by
pretty
selling.
much, yeah.
I don't know that we've ever seen anything like this outside of the early 80s when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the market in silver. Like we have seen this type of activity before, but nobody alive who's heavily involved in Bitcoin has that experience firsthand. So you could read books about, they used to do this with commodities. They used to set up these, it's almost like machinery where I'm gonna keep cornering this market until anyone that's on the other side of me has to cry uncle and go bankrupt. And this was an investing strategy back in the day with commodities.
How do you think this ends though? Like what's like he wants to hypothetically buy forever, but at some point, like, do
What
they ever
percentage
sell?
of all the Bitcoin outstanding
1%.
is he?
He owns 1%, right?
Only?
So that's so
Not
he's,
more?
I have no idea.
so he's a whale, but in the grand scheme of Bitcoin, he's not that big of a deal.
Is this the line from Cocktail, or is it everything ends poorly, the other ones that would win it, or is that Top Gun?
Oh, so he said, she says to him, Elizabeth Shue says to Tom Cruise, I don't want this to end badly. And he says, everything ends badly.
Otherwise
It wouldn't end.
Yeah, so that's sort of how I feel
That's
about
real.
this.
That's so real,
That's
by the
so
way.
real.
Props
But like,
to TC.
I don't know. I would have I probably would have said this like a year ago. So it's worked.
Well-
if you bought MicroStrategy, credit to you. You made a ton of money.
Bitcoin is also a bet on President Trump.
You think?
Yeah, big time. I wrote about it over the summer. I think him becoming president. I think there's no longer any guardrails about any kind of crypto activity because the people who have helped get him here don't want that. So
Right.
that'll come to an end. I don't want to say day one, but within the first 90 days, you're going to have a very different attitude toward digital assets. I don't see any reason why we wouldn't see 100,000 Bitcoin.
I think
on
the recent
Bitcoin.
run is Trump momentum.
Think we should buy some NFTs if Trump wins? Like are
It's
NFTs
so
gonna come back?
It's so funny how many like
Bored apes.
pro-Trump trades there are, and she doesn't have any. Maybe that's part of her problem.
Well, they also I think Goldman made a chart, or somebody did. I'm sorry, I don't remember who. The stocks, the companies that would be most exposed to tariff hikes relative to the S&P are crashing.
Meaning what?
Like it's being priced in that.
Oh,
that
like
his
Trump,
victory,
China
the-
stocks, like all that.
his victory is being priced into these stocks.
Interesting.
These tariff stocks.
This is a wild story
It's
though.
wild.
He's like the Bitcoin Fed. Like Saylor.
I need
like
Matt
he has
Levine.
Oh yeah.
He has a bit. Because he basically like the size of his balance sheet is now driving the price of the thing.
You know, he was one of the, I think the most poetic thing. This is going all the way back to our boy SoftBank guy,
Masa.
Yeah. So anyway, Saylor in the .com bubble, he was one of the ones that like I'm not gonna say he made the whole thing pop, but they had to like redo some of their accounting for MicroStrategy was a company in the 90s, and then it turned out they were falsifying revenue by accounting like
I was there. That happened in the
you
year
remember this happened
2000.
in real time.
Was Masa an investor in MicroStrategy?
I don't know,
That would
actually.
just
That's a
be-
great question. But like he was like one of the big kind of accounting frauds that then tanked it. So it would be so beautiful if somehow MicroStrategy like screwed up Bitcoin. I don't think it'll happen, but I hope it does.
I think one Jason Zweig, who we had on the show last week, wrote about Michael Saylor at the outset of this strategy, where he first started to say, this stock is now a vehicle to accumulate Bitcoin. And Jason was pretty even-handed about it. And I sent him an email. I said, if this works, and he's right, because he was talking about Bitcoin 1 million, whatever. I said, if this works, they're basically gonna say he's one of the greatest investors ever.
Yeah.
And Jason said, I don't disagree.
Well, guess what? If it does work and it is working, what are you going to say? He was
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna be
the money,
impressed.
the money is the answer.
He nailed it.
This is one of the best
Might
things.
not like it, but he nailed it.
Love him or hate him, we watched.
Yeah.
This is one of the best things about investing. The scoreboard is the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And this is like one of the weird things. People will go on social media, say, I have an opinion on this stock. Or somebody goes on TV, I have an opinion on this stock. And someone's like, oh, you're wrong because A, B, C. It's like, dude, don't worry about it. Because the scoreboard will tell us.
Yeah.
Maybe you are right. Maybe I'm right. Maybe neither of us are right. But we will have closure on this issue. We will know definitively who ended up being right. I know things can change very quickly.
He's
but
right,
right
as
now,
of
he's
now.
right.
Yep.
And you may not like how he did it.
I
You may
don't.
not-
But as
I respect it.
as somebody who owns probably more Bitcoin than I should, thank you.
Yeah. Keep up those bags.
Thank you.
Doesn't have a use case, doesn't need one. Doesn't need one.
Jack, how are things going at Sherwood, Robinhood in general? You having fun?
Oh, yeah,
I love your role there. I love your writing.
Oh, dude, it's great. We actually launched a podcast a few weeks ago that I'm co-hosting called Snacks Mix. So it's like cool to get to back-to-back days, like
Okay.
record podcasts now. No, it's been good. Our team's great. A big part of our team went down to Miami 2 weeks ago for our big like Robinhood conference down there. There are a lot of Robinhood traders there too. Very fun to talk to them. But it's been cool.
And who is Sherwood endorsing for president?
Wait a minute.
RFK. I'm
Give
just
us,
kidding. I'm
give
just
us a
kidding.
sense of how big this audience is, because I think there's a tendency when people talk about Robinhood who don't really understand, or they don't want to understand, people coming from more traditional brokerage firms.
Yeah.
I think there's a tendency for them to think of Robinhood as a toy because maybe that's how it started.
Yeah.
I think from talking to Sam Rowe, you guys have one of the most engaged, one of the largest audiences in all of financial media.
Yeah.
So give us an idea of how big this audience is.
I know that readership's in the millions. I don't know what the actual
Readership
numbers are.
on what? On the stuff that
Just
you're publishing?
Like on between our newsletters and then our site. I don't know any of the specific numbers on that. I know that Robinhood has I think it's 18 or 19 million users on the finance app. But it's the brand still very much is retail traders and stuff. But I don't know if it's already live, but we're launching, Vlad announced it 2 weeks ago, we're launching a full basically trading suite desktop version. Robinhood has retirement accounts now, and they have a very favorable retirement match. So they've essentially Robinhood's growing up, and they're offering a lot more.
But this is
trying
the
to match
classic
Schwab stuff.
This is classic Clay Christensen stuff, where somebody new comes into the market, they start at the low end, they pick at the low hanging fruit that nobody else wants.
Yeah.
And then they build capability and they start to work their way up. And then the incumbents turn around 2-3 years later and they're like, wait, who?
Yeah.
And they almost can't believe it. So Robinhood going into retirement accounts is another step in that direction.
Dude, my retirement stuff was always in TD Ameritrade, and it's I liked TD Ameritrade a lot, and then Schwab acquired them, and Schwab's user experience is in my opinion, trash. It's just not, it's very clunky, and I don't know, I've been lazy about moving it over, but I'm probably going to transfer my retirement to Robinhood just because it's I already look at stock prices on Robinhood.
And that's 3:47 a.m., baby.
Yeah, I know. Why not?
Yeah, and you could
your retirement is
and you could
counting
do
Just
it all
on
want to
night
YOLO
long.
my retirement on the presidential election bet. I could.
Does the audience ever surprise you in the feedback that you get for what you're putting out? Do you ever get surprised by a growing level of maybe sophistication or people becoming more conservative than you thought?
Yeah, it's I think the people that are reading our stuff, it's probably skews younger-ish, around my age, but it's very much not.
But you're not 16 anymore.
No, 27. I
right.
think that's late 20s.
Yeah. No, but around your age, the people are getting married at that age. It's not.
Yeah, we're adults.
Right.
Of.
It's adults.
Yeah, except in New York.
Jack, I love that you are not a native New Yorker
Yeah.
and you just ride or die for the city.
Oh, this place is awesome.
It's weird to it's cool to hate New York City. I don't know when that happened, but this is, in my humble opinion, the greatest city in the world, and it sounds like you agree.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
You wrote this really great piece about why New York is now your home.
Yeah.
I want to quote from it, okay? The thing about New York is that it's tough to get it until you've lived here for a few months. I visited a few times before moving here, and while I always had a blast, it was exhausting. Everyone was in a hurry at all times. The subway was impossible to navigate. I had no idea where to go for dinner and drinks because of an infinite number of viable options. And I probably spent most of my time at the not touristy spots where everyone visiting the city ends up when they're trying to avoid the touristy spots, which I thought was a really funny observation. But now it's different that you're here full time. One thing that you said that was funny, I panic researched where to go shopping to upgrade my Atlanta uniform of golf shirts, chinos, and sneakers. And I nearly died 12 times riding a city bike around Manhattan. But now that I'm more familiar with the city, I love New York. So you've been here 25, 26 months at this point. So I would say you're a New Yorker.
Yeah, I'm
fine with that.
I'm a New York. I'm a New York
I'll give it to
toddler.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I think once a New Yorker, always a New Yorker too. Do you believe that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so if you spend the next 5 or 10 years here and then you end up in California, you could still
Still a
say,
New Yorker.
I'm a New Yorker.
Yeah, I would have spent the majority of the first half of my adult life in New York at that point. So,
That's right. Okay, so where do you live? What neighborhood of the city?
Technically Soho. I thought I lived in the West Village, but it turns out I'm
Somebody
right on
said
the
you
corner. Yes, that is exactly. I got corrected on that quickly. You know what? The West Village kind of got too mainstream, so it was better. I live above 12 Chairs Cafe, the best Israeli restaurant.
Okay. And now have
on
you
Dugal
bought
Street.
enough black clothing that you can pass as a New Yorker?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I actually like white T-shirts more than black T-shirts. I think they like complement my skin
Not at
better.
night. Not at night though.
No, you can wear it at night.
You wear white T-shirt.
We're
at night?
not in Berlin.
That's all right. Fair.
Yeah.
What is your favorite thing about not just living in New York but working in New York?
It's like, especially coming from living in Atlanta, and I say Atlanta is probably pretty representative of most other cities in the U.S., like a decent sized city with like a lot of good companies, good jobs. There's more touch points and opportunities in New York. Like I rode a city bike up here to y'all's studio to come hang out today. If I was in Atlanta, that wasn't going to happen. Like everybody and every company is either in New York or has some presence in New York or comes
here
or comes and visits New York at some point. So it provides way more like touch points and just surface area for opportunity than anywhere else.
So I fully agree with. I think you agree with that, right?
Yeah, optionality. That's the word you're looking for.
Yeah.
Well, we finance podcast.
Yeah, well, even then, even if you're like fully locking in on a certain career path, the upside trajectory for pretty much everything is either the highest in New York or close. Like, okay, if you're working in like tech or venture capital or whatever, San Francisco is still probably the best, but New York's still very competitive. If you're in politics, like, I don't know, like Mayor Adams, don't know what's going on with him, but he's on TV all the time.
But it sounds like you are of the mind that New York's not for everyone. It's intimidating. There's a lot going on, but it's less crazy when you live here than when you visit.
Yeah, and there's like a learning curve because there's a lot going on. Like it just takes a while to both like figure out where to go, what to do, what stuff you like, what you don't like where you want to live. Like you can't come here for a week and a half and just know it, which is good.
But there's also a chicken and egg thing where people are like graduating school and they don't have a job lined up. It's like, oh, I can never come to New York because I couldn't afford to live. Nobody could afford to live here.
Right.
People that live here for 20 years can't afford to live here. But it's almost like, well, if you move there, though, you have the potential of making a lot more than where you're currently sitting. So the people that come here almost have to make a bet on themselves, like Duncan.
Well, I think
right? Like you made a bet. You said, all right, I'll go there. I'll figure out a way to do it.
Yeah.
And you did it.
I think technically I'm in Connecticut now.
All right, shut the fuck up.
I was gonna say one of the harder things about New York, especially like if you're like in your 20s here, is there's a mixture of people who are like scrappy, scraping by, people who do have like well-paying jobs who can now afford it, and people who are being largely subsidized by their parents or whatever. And
well,
it's
that's
like
a really big element of it.
Yes, and so you'll go visit a friend's apartment and it's like super nice, decked out, like one bedroom that's $4,500 a month. And it's like, how do you afford this at 26? Well, the answer is you don't. Yeah. But everybody's in the same social bubble and you don't really know everybody's situation, but there's a lot of temptation to try to like keep up with the people who have the best stuff. And like, I don't know, I feel like it would be very easy to like go into credit card debt trying to keep up the lifestyle.
So I was gonna say, at your age, it's a pretty obvious, easy bet. When you meet somebody who's got like a ridiculous apartment, it's pretty obvious it's either a trust fund situation or they work on Wall Street. There's no third option.
Right.
Because even if you're in medicine or in tech for the most part or something, at 25, you're not living like that. Even if no one's paying you W-2 that way.
Even if you're on Wall Street, like say you, like if you're like, a lot of my friends went into investment banking after business school, and like they make very good money, but they're still not making like.
Well, they don't have any time to spend it.
Right.
Either.
They don't. And then you're still making like max salary 200-ish, and then you get a bonus that say you get a full 100% bonus. Like say you make $400,000 in a really good year. That's a lot of money, but you're still not like, you take taxes, you're left with like $200K basically. And then if you pay $5,000 a month in rent, like there's not as much expendable income if you have a really nice spot.
Well, also if you're paying $5K in rent, what else are you spending money on?
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah. So
that's the other thing. The whole culture is about going out.
Yeah.
Like people don't entertain at home.
No.
This is what's
weird. Everybody lives in a shoebox.
Everybody lives in a shoebox. So you have to be out somewhere. And if you're out somewhere decent in New York, you're spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
So it's just
that's wild. I never experienced that. I never lived in Manhattan.
Oh, you lived
in Brooklyn.
Dude, I was unemployed forever. I couldn't afford it.
I will say Trader Joe's has been a lifesaver. I've started cooking a lot more now that I'm out of school and I'm just in my apartment more. And Trader Joe's, I always thought before I never shopped there before moving here. I just assumed it was like Whole Foods and a more expensive like
No, it's the
premium
opposite.
place. I can load up for like $80 and be
great.
good for a week.
And it's not really cooking; it's heating up.
Oh, yeah.
Like
You're
when you
right.
buy a frozen thing, it's fine. It's
I love
perfectly
Trader
fine.
Joe's.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, no,
Trader
no,
Joe's is awesome.
No disrespect to Trader Joe's, but there's not a lot of cooking. It's more like put this in a pan, put a lid on it. It'll be ready in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You're good to go.
Yeah.
So, all right, dude, we're so happy to have you as a New Yorker.
Happy to be here.
You were an honorary New Yorker at first. Now you're an actual New Yorker. I think it's pretty great. How's your dating life? Everything good?
Yeah, good.
Okay.
Single in New York.
Where can young ladies reach out to you if they
Oh
want
my
to?
God! Sorry, I was about to say earlier, but I think somebody cut me off. That Matt Levine needs to write about MicroStrategy for us to better understand it. Boom, money stuff. MicroStrategy has stock to sell. So if you want to understand like really what's going on, read Matt Levine.
All right. And hey, we're going to close out with favorites, and then Michael's going to go trick or treat with his kids. Jack, have you brought us anything that the audience should hear about?
Anything the audience should hear about? Probably the Matt Levine piece right there that Michael was talking about. I actually did not do a great job of pulling favorite. I do.
I got you.
Help.
All right.
Help. Phone
We'll
a
all
friend.
read
Phone
the
a
Matt
friend.
Levine
All right,
piece,
so
obviously.
Matt Bellany, one of my favorite podcast hosts, The Town on the Ringer Network, which talks about the business of Hollywood. He had on the head of FX. This guy's name is John Landgraf. It was a 2-part special on Silicon Valley's effect on Hollywood, and what Netflix did to the business model. And there's nothing that you don't know, but just to hear him lay it out that way was fantastic. So highly recommend that.
All right, cool. Love it. I'm reading a new book by Stephen Pressfield. It's
Is a new book?
came out last year. So it's basically a daily. You're supposed to read 1 page a day, and each page is 1 paragraph. So of course I read, half the book already. It doesn't matter how you consume it, but he pulls all these great things that he said in all these different books, and it's meant for creators and entrepreneurs and writers and people that are building things. And it's just a combination of like really great technical advice for how to move your project forward, but then also like motivation.
That guy's a
And
genius.
Pressfield's the best.
You
So-
must have read Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit, right?
Yeah, no, phenomenal book.
Every young
Wait,
writer has
so,
read that.
So the book is called The Daily Pressfield, and can't recommend it enough. All right, we're going to get out of here for this week. Thanks to the whole team. You guys did a great job. Special thanks to Jack. Jack Rains, where can we follow you? You tweeting?
Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on LinkedIn.
Reddit?
Jack Rains, not on Reddit.
Barmello Anthony?
Barmello Xanthony with an X.
Barmello Xanthony.
And read my blog, youngmoney.co, C-O, not com.
We love you. Happy Halloween, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.